I pretty much devoted my life to golf. I loved it, and that's the passion that's taken me on to coach now. I started playing golf when I was 10 or 11, and then I played for Ireland, I think, when I was about 20, and I played through until I was about 27 or 28. And then I realised that my education was probably, there was a sell-by date with it, so I thought, I better do something with it, because I wasn't going to make it as a professional. Reality told me that, my results told me that, so I thought, well, how can I stay in golf and make a living? So I thought I'd go through the PGA. And lucky enough, my coach at the time, Michael McGee, who I now coach with, there was a job, a space there at Malone. So I went through the PGA scheme with him, then I went from there and worked at the Junior Golf Academy, and that was so I went through the PGA in 2004, and I got my head into coaching then, so it was about 8 years ago. I've been out for about 8 years now.
So what's the secret of coaching? Is it technique, or is it getting that sort of, the 6 inches between each ear sorted out?
It's the most important distance in golf, the 6 inches between the ears. I really don't know the secret. I'm still learning all the time. I learn both from the opportunities I take with other coaches and the reading that I do, and really just spending time with the players and trying to understand how they best tick. I think I've come to the realisation over the last few years that you don't really teach golf as such, you teach golfers, you teach people. So if you can work with the person first and then help their golf along with that, I think that's...
And are they all different?
Oh, very much so, yeah. And I think when you go to the elite level and they're playing for their living, or they have very high aspirations, as I had, which I can identify, because at that stage in my life, I wanted to go and play on the European Tour and play in majors and win majors. So I had great dreams, so I can have empathy with them. I think when you look at them each as individuals, like I said, you help their golf, but you try and work with them as people more. So you got to, and it's like jigsaw, you got to try and fit into their bit of jigsaw the best you can, and hopefully there's chemistry there. Then you get a relationship that works.
At the very top level, and obviously we're going to talk a wee bit about Rory and his big sponsorship deal with Nike. That's at the ultra top level. Down the stages, there are guys trying to make a living from golf. Mm-hmm. And it is make or break for something like the qualifying school, the Q school. Yeah. You've worked with a lot of guys who went through that in Spain and didn't make it. Mm-hmm. That sounds the most horrendous test of your nerve.
Well, I suppose it is, really. I've seen both ends of it, in that I was just talking to one of your colleagues there when I went down and had a look through the starting sheet, or the entry list. There was 20 past winners. Now, if you told me, well, Johnny, this young lad you're working with, or this guy you're working with now is going to win on tour, some people would assume, he's been a success, he's financially set, he's going to have a card for, he's a tour winner, he's now labelled. But when you think there's 20 guys down there who were tour winners, are now trying to play to keep their employment, it must be difficult for them. I don't know any of them, I don't coach them, but I would imagine that's difficult to get your head around. But then there's like Gareth Shaw, who I went down with last week, among others, and he had just come off winning the Alps Tour, which was a great success for him. It's been a real step forward, and so he was on the up going there. So I guess there's a whole range of emotions down there. But I can only, if I equate it to what I do or what you do, if somebody said, right, you've got to pass a test at the end of the year, and the quality of your work will dictate whether you can work again next year. In essence, you do get to work. You just don't get to work where you want to work in the main tour. You'll get to work in mini tours, or whatever you want to call it. So, in one way, it is a bit of a knife edge you walk. But I always believe if you can get finance, or you have money, or you can get backing, there's always golf to play in this world. You always find somewhere to play, and it will come down into how good a player you are. So, as I said, everybody, could I make it on tour? How do you make it on tour? This on tour idea, get your stroke average down, because golf unapologetically rewards results, and Rory's at the very, very top of that. He's phenomenal. But if you can get your standards up and get your scores down, and eventually land up where you want to be.
Does the fact that Rory McIlroy has retained the services of his long-term coach Michael Bannon, does that give encouragement to the likes of yourself?
I suppose it does, yeah. I think more so. I mean, I was lucky enough to play with Rory when he was about 13 or 14, and he made an impression on me then. He's still doing that now. In regards to Michael,
what age were you then?
I would have been, I think it was 2003. It was 2003, 2004 at the Irish Amateur, and I would have been coming to the end of my time as an elite amateur or an Irish player, and Rory was just coming to the start of his time. So it was interesting just to be orbiting around somewhere like that, to be in there like a genius's company, even though I didn't really see it. I knew his record and I could sense something a little different from him, but I'd be lying if I said, I knew straight away this kid was going to be incredible. Obviously he was going to be very good, and he was setting, he was marching to the beat of his own drum at that point. He was doing things that nobody else was doing, but there's always in golf, you never quite know what's going to happen. There's no sure things. But in regard to Michael, I think it's refreshing to see that and then when I went into coaching, my first year working with the GUI, which I'd been with as a player and a coach, Michael was there, so it was great to be around him. And Michael McGee and Seamus Duffy, who were the three older, more experienced coaches, and I learned a tremendous amount just being around those guys and listening to them. But it was great to see then a guy who you were sitting beside working with and watching him teach and realising it's not magic. The people who do very well in life, I believe, they just do the very simple things well. They do what they do at a very high level. They don't do something completely different, to what I do or what everybody else does. And that's what I tell the players as well. It's just simple things done very, very well. So I'm delighted for Michael. He is a lovely man. He's a quiet, unassuming guy, and he's always been very helpful to me. I've asked him at different times about. I'm setting up a teaching bay at Green Acres with lighting and cameras and went down, and obviously he's very busy. If I'm busy, he's 10 times busier than I am, and he was good with his time. He's very helpful. Peter Morgan, who would be one of my friends now in coaching, he was Michael's assistant, and he speaks very highly of him, so it couldn't happen to a lovelier guy. But it is refreshing to see that a person with Rory's genius can be nurtured in this country, and a chap who an everyday man like Michael has the skills, and he's able to do it, and so it shows you it can be done.
Rory is the biggest sports star to have come out of Northern Ireland. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
He's going to step up to another level in monetary terms in 2013 with this new sponsorship deal with Nike. So that means he will have to use Nike clubs and a Nike ball. He has been using Titleist since his amateur days. Is that a big risk to change your equipment like that? Are golfers not sort of psychologically wedded to the clubs that they know and love?
That's an interesting question, and it's one that's raised a lot of debate among golfers because everybody thinks of the money, and it's fun to talk about.
$200 million. It's easy to say, isn't it? It
rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? I think initially when you hear it, you think, if Rory's got such a winning formula at the minute, whatever he's doing, mixed with his incredible talent, it's working because he's topped the money list in America, he's topped the money list in Europe, or worldwide it is now really, the European Tour. He's won, I think, 3 or 4 times the PGA Tour. He's won another major by 8 shots. He's the best player in the world in the era of Tiger Woods. You're thinking, how good does this get? And you start thinking he's going to meddle a little bit with that formula. But whenever I thought of it initially, I thought, that is a bit of a chance to take. Then I thought about, what, Rory's a very clever guy, and he's got people around him that he trusts, his dad, Michael, his management group. I'm sure he hasn't taken this decision lightly. So you can quickly assume, this might actually hold Rory back. And think about it, this might actually help him, because Tiger Woods, there's a lot of parallels to Tiger. In 99, I think, or 2000, he went to Nike from Titleist. He'd won a couple of majors. His value was soaring, and he got better. So Nike, through maybe their expertise or whatever they can give him, they might actually add to Rory and be more befitting of a real huge global brand like Rory. So it could actually help him. So the jury's really out for me. You won't know until the results come in.
For the weekend hacker who's keen on golf but isn't getting the results, maybe the first option is to change the clubs and think, right, new clubs, new me. But the irony is for Rory, the new clubs, he's going to design them to be as close to his old clubs as possible.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the facts, you'll think, right, Rory plays with 14 clubs. That's all you're allowed in golf on the golf course. I've heard an article Michael did as coach who said the shafts are virtually identical. The heads are going to be very similar. Like I said, I'm sure Nike and the oven, they call it this sort of research and development area they have, they can build him wedges like the Vokey wedges he plays. You can go onto a Nike putter, so it's going to be as close as you can get. And I would imagine Rory would have tested this extensively. You're not going to take something like an equipment change as lightly. Same as Lewis Hamilton with going to a different car next year. You're going to, you can imagine these guys, this is their dream, their livelihood, everything. So they're not going to go and make a change quickly. And he'll have thought this out. Obviously, there's a huge financial aspect of it. You can't get around that. But Rory, I'm sure, knows he's got to where he is through his level of golf. So I'm sure he knows that that's the most important. That's the linchpin of all this, how good he plays. So I don't think he would do anything that would jeopardise that. In fact, like I said, it might even prove that he goes on and plays better.
As a player, Johnny, did you ever bin the clubs or bin the putter or go through, any number of different styles trying to find the clubs that suited you best?
Well, there's no doubt. I think when you're trying to be the best you can in today's society with so much information, technology, it's all available to you. You do tamper or mess about with clubs, and some do more than others. I would have been more sentimental. I would have held on to the clubs that I like, because I tend to think it was the Indian and not the Arrow. But there are times when you get drivers or putters and you get through a honeymoon period. You think, this club sits better, looks better, it's just right for me. I wish, my dad always said, I wish I could get 13 more clubs like my favourite club, so there is a psychological element to it, but it'd be interesting to do a study, because you could make a club up that is exactly the same as your old club and doctor it up in some way and see if it had the sort of, the placebo effect, did it make you play better. But the interesting thing will come, I think, with anybody, interesting time will come with Rory, when if his results not go down but just don't attain that very high level, will it then place a little bit of doubt in his mind? I wonder, is it the clubs?
Well, the media will say that.
Yes,
won't
exactly.
they?
Yeah, because I'm sure he'll go on to win more majors. Who knows what he'll do in the game? But there's always plateaus, isn't there? Even with Usain Bolts and all these, Roger Federers, they always plateau, and then of course people want to talk about it. It seems we're talking about it now, so they try and pin it on something. And it'll be interesting to see then how the angle that is taken. Then is it the golf clubs? What is it? Because I remember at the Masters when he was away in the lead and he fell back, people were starting to I remember even reading an article, somebody said, he needs to get a different golf coach. And I'm thinking, how can a guy like Rory lead the Masters for whatever it is, 63 holes and play this stellar like golf? Then he wobbles a bit. Of course, Augusta being Augusta, the shots just go like confetti, and then somebody starts blaming the coach. It's crazy, given that he'd done 80% of it or whatever beautifully, absolutely beautifully. So people always want to pin things and give reasons for certain things. So it'll be interesting to see when that happens. But from personal experience, you do go through honeymoon periods with clubs and you get clubs that you like. But nowadays, it's because whenever I was playing 10, 15 years ago, if a club broke or you lost it, it's nearly irreplaceable. I certainly played a lot with Persimmon golf clubs, but now they're mass produced, and when you go to the European Tour and you see the guys screwing a head off one driver and sticking another driver on to make it go 3 yards lower, you tend to think that even though equipment in many ways has got more important and there's more emphasis placed on it, it's actually more disposable now and replaceable, so maybe it isn't as big a deal as people are making it,
I sense you're quite an ambitious fella, Johnny. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I never thought I would stop playing competitively myself, to be honest. You define yourself as a competitor, but then when I started going into coaching and realising, a lot of the mistakes I made could help others I see around me with the same desire that I had. So yeah, I thought about it myself a lot. I love improving. I love learning. I love getting better. I love being more capable tomorrow or next year than I am today. That's I enjoy that most about my about what I do. I love being more than I am, so that translates into ambition, I guess, because I always want to work, always want to do a better job, work with better players, learn from a better source of people. I get a kick out of that.
They always talk about Pádraig Harrington being an example of a good player who made himself through his own attempts and through coaching into an excellent player. Is that your ideal? Would you like to work with somebody like that, or would you like to work with a Rory McIlroy guy who is, God-given talent?
That's a very interesting question, because I've thought about it a lot. If I won the lottery tomorrow, what would I do? I would keep coaching because I love it. And I was teaching a kid last night. I won't tell you his name, I don't put any pressure on him, but some of the kids now I teach are very, very good. And it's exhilarating to see him hit shots he couldn't hit before. Because even as a 20-year-old, I could get back to when I was 20 then. I can identify with how he's feeling, that he's learned something new, and you can see the joy in his face by being able to spin the ball or play out of a bunker properly. And it's like whenever I used to work with my coaches, it's like they've given you a new tool that you can go away with and shape all sorts of different things. So Pádraig, I suppose, is one of those unique individuals like Nick Faldo, or I'm reading Bradley Wiggins. These guys here are incredible. They have a desire to achieve, and they'll do anything to achieve it. I can relate them back to what I went through when I played, and I sort of excelled, not hugely, but beyond my friends, let's say. Working or practicing to me wasn't practice. I loved it. I loved being engrossed in the process of mastery, trying to get good at something, and really feeling that you're in control of what you're doing, and have people say to you, "Oh, you're very good at it." It makes you feel good. It strokes your ego, there's no doubt about it. And when you separate yourself out and you win, and in the few things that I did win, it's a great confidence boost, because you feel all my work has been embodied in what I've received today. So I don't know if there is an ideal student, because I've dealt with students who are very, very talented, and many sources have told me that. And you deal with guys who people don't give a chance to, and I've learned not to gamble in golf, not to gamble in coaching, because you don't know what lifestyle factors are working on them, what their environment's like. You just don't know who's going to go through. So all you can do is give everybody a fair go, and really give back to them what they give to you. I'm a great believer that if you talk about golf, good players, lots of players have playability, but not everybody has coachability. Now, you don't have to like the coach you're working with or be their best friend, but I think you as an individual have to realise, I don't know it all. If I want a hairdresser, I want a haircut, I go to a hairdresser. I go to the right person for a job. If I want to improve my golf, I've got to go to a guy who knows his stuff and develop a rapport with him that allows me to get the most out of myself with him. So, but these are, like I said, the learning aspect, and I'm still relatively young in coaching terms, although I've got a lot of experience at this point. But I've seen how as I say, on one hand, you're a coach and you try to wear different hats and be that bit of jigsaw that fits around other people's jigsaw. But on the other hand, it's important the person you work with. I think they have to have that coachability and understand the need in certain areas to take on a bit of guidance or advice. To make them, to get the most out of what they have. I relate it very, very quickly to in life. The talent you're born with, your hand-eye or your balance or maybe your genetics. You're given that money at the start of your life. Now, how you invest it is the way you practice and what you end up with then. Let's say Porrig was given £1,000 when he was young. He's turned it into 100 million. And Rory was probably given $1 million and he'll turn it into 10 billion. Some guys are given 10 million and blow it. They go down and put it all on the 240 at Doncaster.
I think I'm bankrupt, certainly in golf terms anyway, Johnny.
I think I got monopoly money.
Have you noticed with Rory's astonishing success, and of course Graham and Darren as well in recent years, more kids coming through wanting to be golfers, saying, I want to be the next Rory.
That's interesting. I could talk all day about these things. I'll relate to
have you got parents saying, I want my son to be the next Rory?
Because I was teaching the chap there, a young lad, a young guy not long ago, and it was really funny. But I took him in, and initially, of course, going through the process, you get to know them, and it's really more about the questions you ask as a coach and what they tell you and what they don't tell you. But I took him out. We went out to the bay where we meet, and he hit a few balls, and I asked him about what sports he likes and whose golf swing does he like, and how's he getting on at school, and this, that, and the other. Has he had lessons before? And I said to him then, he was in his third or fourth shot, I said to him, well, what do you want to get out of the game? What do you want to do? And he's only 13, and he said to me, well, same as everybody. In other words, you want to probably go, and I think, presume he means go to the top. And I said, what do you mean? Oh, I'll play on tour. As if it's just like, I want that new Nintendo, that Xbox there, for just that one there, that at the top of the shelf, please. It's easy. So I thought that made me laugh, because there's a kid who, everybody wants to do it now. They see Rory with the Oakley gear on, the tennis player girlfriend, the $1 billion golf swing, they all want it, but the facts are that 2% of people who play golf for a living make it, 2%. And I would say to kids then, once they're old enough to understand, what makes you so special? You're in that 2%. Because invariably in life, you'll meet people with more ability than you. You'll meet people who are from nicer climates. You meet people who get incredibly good coaching when they're young. You meet people with parents who are you're very well off. What is going to separate you from them? Because in the world, in that triangle, the pyramid of performance you're going into, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter at the top. And that comes down to what you said a second ago, that yes, they have to have that requisite talent. I don't think there's no way around that. But they have to have that coachability and that understanding that they've got a tremendous amount. They have to invest that money properly. So it's funny just that kid in his mind had, I will have a go at that, sure, until maybe we'll do something else. But to answer your question, what I've seen now, definitely more so, is more parents are willing to bring kids at a younger age for better quality coaching. I'm not saying what I provide is better quality, but they're more willing to pay for hour-long lessons. They're more willing to pay probably more than they're getting down the road if they think that's the way their kids have the best opportunity. I would say half my business now, a third of it is at least kids under 14 or 15, and their parents are very supportive, and some of them are making great strides. But it's interesting, I read a book or something about coaching in the States. I think there's a music school in the States. They actually interview the parents. They don't interview the kid. They interview, are you willing to support this child through thick and thin and spend 8 to 10 hours a week accompanying him to practice for the next 10 years? Because that's what it's going to take for him to move on to this 10,000 hour rule thing, So it's just interesting that you do need that parent support. You do need a good environment around them, because what I can say to them in an hour on a Tuesday night can be undone, and with influences around them that aren't supportive of that work. I would get the kids a coach to keep a diary, to make them accountable to the information, to make sure that some of the kids are very good and they get to work with other coaches at national level, provincial level, even their home coaches at other clubs. And for clarity for the child and for consistency, you have to have all the coaches on the same page, because invariably, I can imagine if a 14 or 13-year-old Rory walked into Greenacres tonight, you'd be so keen to coach him, but you think, this is phenomenal. I haven't seen this is an incredible opportunity, to work with a guy like this, to be privileged. So you'd be so keen to coach him. And now you can imagine every coach would be reacting like that to Rory. So and this is, I think, I remember Michael told me once, I thought it was fascinating, that whenever Rory had people around him, the Nick Faldo series coaches, the Irish coaches, as people he knew, they used Michael and Rory as a filter. So Rory took on board a lot of ideas, probably very inquisitive, like most kids are, wanted to learn, but they sort of said, right, let's filter it through does it fit into what we want, because we have a grand scheme and we have a vision for your golf game, so let's make sure it adds to that and doesn't confuse you. And I've tried to do that with the kids now, who are at national level, who are at provincial level, and who have access to other coaches with their own club coaching. I said, I don't mind. In fact, I welcome you to get other people's opinions, because I'm not the be-all and end-all. People's eyes see different things, but we have to decide on what to do, one thing, and go forward with that. We can't take 5 ideas forward. You've got to have clarity and commitment to the information if you want it to be effective,
Johnny, if somebody had said to you 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, that Northern Ireland would be seen, half jokingly, half seriously, as the capital of golf, with the best player in the world, 2 other major winners as well, you wouldn't have believed them, would you?
I don't know. I remember reading once about Tiger that if you had said to a young kid in California in 1992, somebody's going to come into golf and rewrite the whole golf landscape, they're going to bring athleticism into golf, they're going to bring the stinger shot into golf, they're going to bring the mentality that second sucks and first is the only thing I'm interested in. They're going to make Ernie Els look ordinary. I'd have said, I'd watched Ernie Els, I said, there's no way, that is not possible. But there was a kid in California who said, I'm going to do that. So we're judging that by our own standards. Rory probably growing up thought, why not? Why can't I go and win majors by yet? Why can't I dominate? I know I would spend a bit of time with Graham. I played on a couple of teams with him, Graham had a mentality, a bit like Gareth Maiden. They're very positive people. When they went to America, then something about America, I think, raised their ceilings of what they thought was possible. There was none of this, sort of wind your neck in culture when they said they're going to win 5 things. The Americans were more supportive of that, so let's make it 10. Because Graham definitely came back, his personality. He was still the same guy. He was dead on and he was fun to be around, but he just came back more positive. Dressing more confidently, talking more confidently.
And with that accent.
They call it the Midwestern accent, don't they? But, so, I think these people, they set their own, they work by a set of their own laws. But you're right to say that we have a guy it's tremendous for my business and the golf business in general. You have a young guy who is fit, looks after himself in the gym, has a homegrown coach that he's had since he was, whatever the starting point is, 7 or 8. Came through the GUI, came through the Ulster coaching, didn't go to college, didn't sort of stayed on that track of homegrown talent. Swings the club beautifully, technically sound. It's a great advertisement for my job. I'm very lucky to be firstly in Tiger's era and then Rory's era when I'm trying to build my business.
And he will be home for Christmas, I'm sure, at some stage for his mummy's cooking.
Well, there you are. I'm sure I saw him. I think he tweeted once. He put his picture of his mum's chili up, so I think he still maybe enjoys it over the hash browns and the maple syrup, but.
One thing that's happened in terms of the rules of golf, it looks as though they're going to ban these big long putters. Well, they're going to ban you putting them into your belly to steady them. Have you ever used one of these clubs? Is it a help? I assume it takes away maybe the shakes or the quakes in the hands as you're standing over the ball on the green.
Yeah, I did use them. Yeah, I actually played when I came to the end of my amateur golf. I used one because it was there was no real stigma attached to it then. It was just like a bit of a quirky thing to try, and some people were even using it as a training aid because of the feel that helped their mechanics. And I used one towards the last couple of years and I actually played I got the final of the North and I won a few things, so I putted better. But looking back on it, because I knew we were going to chat about it today, I think it was more, going back to that honeymoon period with the driver, it's something different. And I certainly felt, I remember trying it at St Andrews and a few other places, I thought, what, I know so little about this that I can't confuse myself. So literally I'm going to get up and just play putt-putt as if I'm on a little putting competition with kids. Just going to go up and whack the ball and in more often. But having looked at the rules and whatnot, they're not keen, or they want to take away this anchoring point, don't they, which can be in your tummy for a belly putter or it can be in your chin for a long putter. So I guess with all the scrutiny it's come under and with what Ernie has said, I'm going to keep using it even though I know it's not right and I'm cheap.
And the fact that 3 of the last 5 major winners have used a form of this putter.
Yeah, I think in college, in America especially, they're coming out and they're not going to the conventional route of putting, they're going straight into that. But then again, I remember reading Gary Player. I think he gave Jim Furyk or some one of these two great players, and he gave him advice when the kids were young. What would you do first? I would putt cack-handed because it lowers the shoulders and helps a few technical points. So in essence, putting is the area that offers the biggest room for your individual feel. So I wouldn't be against trying different putters, but obviously if they maybe can get research or their feedback to suggest that it makes it easier, then it is a bit unfair, I guess. But again, the rule, this is just a proposal at the minute, isn't it? And I think it's not being decided upon until spring of next year around the Masters time, then it won't be into operation until January 1st, 2016. So you have 3 years, so Webb Simpsons and these guys here can play with it for another 3 years, although I would imagine they'll start practicing with the regular belly. But it will be interesting because definitely the long putter has prolonged or even given some guys tremendous success. I know Adam Scott, I think, has put it better with it. There's guys like Carl Peterson, I don't think has put it with anything else in the States. Tim Clark. So it'll be interesting to see if they have to go, how it affects their golf. But it's like, and humans adapt and survive, don't they? You'll find a way. You'll either through doggedness or maybe psychologists will make a lot of money out of it. But it's just interesting what they're trying to do to take it away from obviously the anchoring point is the part that they don't like about it. The RNA and the USGA seem to think that's not is against Rule 14.1 or something like that. So it's interesting, but it just shows you the way it's going, that people will try anything to get better, and then the guardians of the game have to be there to make sure it's not given an unfair advantage.
Finally, Johnny Foster, elite golf coach, give me one piece of advice. I'm on the 18th green somewhere. I'm standing over a 10-foot putt. It's a straight putt. I have to sink it to save my £2.50. What should be going through my head?
What should be going through? Well, you have to say what's going through your head to start with. I don't want to.
What should I be looking at? The whole of the ball?
Well, I think you want to start with looking at the golf ball, right, and then hope for the best. Probably in your case, I would say. Somebody said to me earlier on, "Will you not take that fella in there and give him some lessons?" And I said, "Listen, I do lessons, not miracles."